You're listening to the Small Business Marketing Show, where you'll learn how to attract all the clients you can handle automatically. Now, here's your host, Steve Gordon.
Welcome to the Small Business Marketing Show. This is Steve Gordon. I'm your host, and I'm the founder of Steve Gordon Marketing Systems, where we help small business owners and people in professional practice build autopilot marketing systems to attract all the clients they want and do so with lots less work. Today, I'm really excited to be talking with my good friend Donnie Bryant. Donnie is a direct response copywriter and a marketing consultant up near Chicago. And I have to tell you, he does so many neat things. I've been following him for, 18 months, 2 years now. And just the things that come out of his brain are really cool. And the reason I wanted to have him on today is because as a direct response copywriter, he's got to spend a lot of time figuring out how to craft an offer and how to package a product or service so that somebody will actually want to buy it. In fact, that's what he gets paid to do. And one of the things that I run into over and over again with businesses that I come across is they just don't have a good feel about how to package what they do into a compelling offer that's going to make somebody want to stand up and say, hey, I want that. And so we're going to talk with Donnie about that today. In addition to all of that, Donnie has authored a book called Stealth Selling, Non-Pushy Persuasion for Professionals, which I highly recommend. We'll give you a link to that at the end of the show. Donnie, welcome. Great talking to you.
Wow. Thanks for having me. Thanks for a great introduction. Hopefully we can live up to the expectation that we've just set.
I have full confidence. So we're talking about offers today, and, probably 9 out of 10 business owners that I will say the word offer to, their immediate response was, well, you mean like a sale? And we're not talking about a sale. We're not talking about a special discount. I mean, it might include that, but really that's not what we're talking about. And so can you kind of describe to folks when you and I talk offer, what does that mean to you?
Sure, and really what we want to do ideally is the opposite of a sale, kind of. You want to be able to make more money rather than less. You want to be able to charge more for what you're offering than what the next guy is. And so by coming up with an offer, you don't want to turn yourself into the Walmarts of your field. What you want to do is turn yourself into the Apple of your field and create something that your target audience is going to line up for and pre-order by, in piles like they do for anything that Apple does. So that's kind of what we're talking about when we say offer. How do you get your product, your service, how you construct something that will make it really appealing to your target audience. And the first most important thing, well, what's funny? I suppose you watch Shark Tank, right?
Oh, all the time.
It's a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember which one it was, where the guy and his wife came on and they're selling the chicken wing chip dip. Did you see this episode?
Yes.
And they're tasting it and say, oh, okay. And Damon John says, so basically this is a chicken smoothie. And like, wait, it changed your perspective just for a second. And, they show the shots of Mark looking like, ugh. And, so when you're putting together an offer, when you're putting together, you're structuring how you're going to present your offer, your product or service, you can position it in a way that looks terrible. Like Damon says, here's chicken smoothie. You're not going to sell any of that. No.
That's right.
Or, but the idea is to put it together in a way that is unique and obviously valuable and can create an emotional connection with the person that you really want to buy from you, the person who will benefit from what it is that you have. So, of course, that's where the struggle is. But that's the foundation of where we're going to go. So I think the first thing is uniqueness. And, I guess that's a valid point to that is sometimes you don't feel like you're in a unique market, or you don't have a unique product or service. For me, there's a million copywriters, well, probably more, and there's more coming out every day, and there's so many people who will charge less than me. Believe me, I hear that frequently. You cost too much, which I guess is a good thing. I used to be one of the guys who didn't charge as much, and there's people who charge 10 times as much as I do, and they probably are worth it. So the question is, how do you position something that's not inherently unique as a product or service? How do you make an offer on that's still compelling to your target audience? So that comes down to understanding, what it is that those particular people are looking for. What connects between you and them, or what is it about you that's appealing to them? So just in my particular case, I've had so many people tell me that they really respect and they value my ability to emulate their voice. So, somebody wants to communicate in a personal way that sounds like them rather than sounds like a robot or sounds like every other guy out there. Just my ability to emulate their voice. So whatever it is about you that people really respond to, that's going to be key to coming up with an offer that really works.
Well, and I think you hit it perfectly. It's about being unique, and there aren't very many businesses that are unique. In the marketing world, we all like to point to Apple. Apple hadn't created a unique product yet, and they haven't innovated and created a brand new category ever, I think. I mean, they came out with the iPod, but there were tons of MP3 players around when they came out with the iPod.
That's right.
They just packaged it differently, and they bundled it, and I think that's a key concept to think about here. So they bundled the physical MP3 player with the buying of content, through the iTunes store to put onto the MP3 player, because that was a pain in the neck, for those of us who were around back when MP3 players came out. And I hate to admit it, I was around back when cassette players were state of the art. So, excuse me.
I still have a few cassettes in my house as well.
Exactly. So it allows you, by packaging things together like that, it allows you to get out of what I call commodity hell, because now it becomes harder for people to do an apples to apples comparison. So now you're into apples and oranges, and they go, well, I got an apple over here, I got an orange over here. How do I tell which one's worth more money? Which immediately then disconnects whatever it is you do. So from price. And so if, you're a professional, say an attorney or somebody, and you've got your, regular service, but you bundle that with something that's really valuable to your particular client that they're going to need anyway, that you would often do anyway, but nobody else is talking about it. Well, now you've got a package over here. You've got a special offer that adds value, and now you can justify charging higher fees. So that's why I think this is so important. I mean, this can be a game changer. You get the right offer, and it can completely change your business. So
change everything. I think you said something brilliant. To shift from an apples to apples comparison to an apples to orange comparison. One thing you got to know is some people prefer apples over oranges. So your offer is going to be targeted. Some people will not want what you have to offer. Some people can't stand an Apple product. The company Apple. There's the battle between Android phones and iPhones. Some people are going to go with one, and some people are going to go with the other. That's good. It's good for you to define what kind of fruit you are. An apples to grape comparison, maybe. What kind of fruit are you? Not just we're selling fruit, but you want to be in your own space. So even if you're not creating a new category, like Apple is just, kind of making things that people love in areas that already exist, in categories that already exist. But they've set themselves apart from all their competitors as far as creating a design and creating a brand and creating a lifestyle almost that's unique to them. People will buy anything that Apple says.
Well, certain people will buy.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think that's the key in this is Apple Computer, they don't call themselves that anymore, but they sell in a bubble. And so
right.
I've got a Mac, I got a MacBook Pro, an iPhone, and an iPad within arm's reach of me here. And if I was at home with my wife, there'd be another iPhone and about 4 or I think we have 5 iPods of various ages that our kids have. Right. And anytime they come out with something new, it's already sold to us. Right. There's no competition. We're not going anywhere else. They're selling in a bubble. And that's the advantage of crafting an offer that speaks to a really specific part of the market. And
right.
Yeah. So how do we go about doing that? What are some of the things you go through when you think about building an offer for a client?
Okay. I think, when you send me the email talking about how do we come up with irresistible offers, that's kind of the language that we use. You have to realize, where resistance comes from and people have resistance against things that aren't their priorities, things that aren't important to them. So how do you make something that they won't resist? Is to come up with something that they really want. So I think all marketers have heard this. Most people in business have heard this. You have to sell something that people want. The question is, how do you do that? But when you're constructing your offer, you have to find out what it is that people already want. So Steve Jobs said something like, sometimes people don't know what they want until you show it to them. I don't know that he was right about that. Not to, speak badly of such a great guy. People, he, like you said, he didn't create a new thing. He just put it he presented it in a new way. So it's like people already liked music, right? People already liked to be mobile, especially nowadays. We want to be able to move all the time. So making music easy to carry with you wherever you go. You're just putting two things together that people already wanted. And then you think, who would have thought to put music in a phone? Well, people already wanted phones, mobile phones, and people like music. And people like to carry fewer things if they can. So you just squish them together. So that's maybe the bundling thing, the idea that I'm going to appeal to several things that you already want and maybe never thought to put together. So, and your lawyer example, there's maybe several services that he can provide that, people can use in conjunction with each other. I don't spend a lot of time with lawyers, so I can't think of what any of those services might be. But, to put things together, and then you say, okay, well, you can do, buy your home and do this thing here, and just to put them together in a special way. So it's super easy. That's another thing, a reference back to Apple. Super easy for the customer to say, hey, I need this, this, and that, and I can get it all at once. And they all complement each other. Each piece of the offer, it enhances the other one, and they logically connect to each other. And all of them will speak benefit to the person who's thinking about it. They need to be able to see, the audience needs to be able to see how their life is going to be different. So I think the struggles that we have is we fall in love with our thing, whatever our thing is. If you sell widgets, you fall in love with your widget. People don't care about your widget, really. People care about what their life will be like after they have it. Or maybe they care about how their life is without it, but they just don't know. So that, you said how Donnie Bryant gets paid is helping to show people, or, you construct a message so that shows people what their life situation is without this thing and what it will be like afterwards. So your offer is kind of a way of pointing that out to them. Yeah, your life stinks a little more than it has to because you're carrying a laptop that isn't, as thin as a pencil.
Right.
That MacBook Air is ridiculous. For I haven't purchased one, but the weight of it is like you can play with it like a real notebook. It's weightless. So it's like how much better would your life be if you could carry this thing? First of all, it's cool. But you if you ever, my laptop weighs 5 pounds, which means I'm kind of still stuck in the old school. But if you didn't have to have that weight, your life would be better. Your shoulders, and they're probably not selling it. Your shoulder pain will be gone. Your back pain will be gone. But these are benefits that are true.
Right.
But you just think about, they just show it to you rather than tell you. They just show it to you. Look at, he can lift the computer like it's nothing.
Well,
and they've been doing product placement for that laptop for the Air in all these sitcoms. If you've seen it,
yeah.
They've been spending a lot of money, and people are just carrying around like it's nothing, because it is. So subliminally, you say, "Man, that is nice. I can't do that with my computer. I got to grab both hands, and almost bend my knees when I'm lifting it."
Well, we talked about Apple a lot, and everybody credits them for being extremely innovative. But and Steve Jobs has that quote about that you mentioned, that customers don't know what they want until you show it to them. And when I look at what they've done, and I think this is really instructive for what I would call regular businesses, that aren't at that level, is that a lot of their thinking has just been incremental, and it's just been combining, as you pointed out, just been combining ideas that were already there and just combining them in a different way. And to kind of bring that down to this attorney example that we started with, a divorce attorney goes and you handle the dissolution of someone's marriage, but what happens to that person when they're getting that divorce? Well, there's likely a piece of real estate that's got to be sold off or dealt with in some way. So you could bundle real estate law services. That person's will and estate plan certainly now needs to be updated, because there's probably somebody that they don't want to leave any money to anymore. And so you could bundle that service, and if you start to think about it, you could put 2 or 3 or 4 things together and put that in a really attractive package where,
sure. The total divorce package. You probably maybe think of a little more sexy title for it, but we handle everything at one time. That's exactly right. You're not going to have to worry about, if you die tomorrow, does that, so-and-so that you just divorced still get half because you didn't handle that today.
Right.
You can handle it all at once. And nobody likes to go to a lawyer's office several times, right? You want to get that done as quickly, as smoothly, as painlessly as possible.
Well,
that's really smart.
And in doing that, you serve the customer better than the client, better than you ever could have by having those services individually, because people hate going to attorneys. And, for the attorneys who are listening to this, you all know it's true, because they're afraid, because you only go to an attorney when there's something really tough going on in your life usually. And so you don't want to go. So by bringing all that together, not only can you set yourself apart from the competition, increase your own business, but you're actually serving the client better that way. And that's worth more money.
You're exactly right. So in that case, now you've created an apples to orange situation. We're not the guy who's going to try to milk you and get you to come in time after time. And most people, we're trained not to trust lawyers, right? Everybody, you compare a lawyer with someone who's going to lie to you, someone who's going to try and rip you off, you set yourself up as a trusted person. You should be trusted, but people kind of have that in the back of their mind. But the fewer times you have to see me, the fewer times I can put my hand in your pocket. So even if you have the negative stereotype, you're going to have less touches with me. So I have less opportunity to treat you in a way that you're worried about. And you can eliminate all those obstacles and the objections that might pop up in the mind of these people just by bundling everything together, making it so easy.
Yeah, I think that's as I start to think about offers, that's one of the first places I look, is what logically goes together with whatever the core offering of the business is, whatever it is. And, it works for professionals. It works, I've had clients in the document storage business where they'll warehouse your documents all the way in through the roofing business. And it works in every business I've ever worked in. If you look at, what things logically go together that you used to sell separately. And then if you look at, if your solution takes them, 80% of the way, but you've always got to be calling in somebody else to do the other 20%. What can you combine there? That's another way to look at it. Like, what are the peripheral services? And then, excuse me, the third way that I usually try and break it down is, what does that client need next? So once I complete this and they're happy with this, what's the next thing that they're looking for? And is that something that I can bundle in? And so by looking at it from those three perspectives, it starts to open up your mind to what some of the possibilities are.
Yeah, and one of the things, one of the best opportunities to increase the amount of business that you have, the amount of profit that you get, is to think about the last point that you made, the unexpected consequences, or maybe it's expected for you, but the customer may not realize after you do A, B comes as a natural consequence. So why don't we, I'm going to tell you this is going to happen, so let's deal with that. Also, it's part of the package. Once you have the divorce, the next thing that you need to figure out is, the real estate thing. You didn't think about it. You may not have thought about it, but I did, and I'm going to take care of you in that respect. You need to think about, the will situation and, that thing. You may not have thought about it, but I did, and I'm going to take care of you all at once.
Yeah, and that builds huge trust, too.
Sure. And when you read people's minds or tell them, something that you give them the light bulb moment. I do need that. I didn't even think about that. But you're thinking about how you can make my life easier and how you can make my life better. Right, now you've put yourself into a situation where it's not a commodity anymore. It's something you're looking out for the person. So part of what I was getting at before, we fall in love with our thing, and we need to be really being obsessed with our people, the people we want to reach, and the transformation that we can create in their lives. What is it that they're getting out of it? So rather than selling the widget, or you think about what's the core benefit that they're getting. Okay, well, you need a divorce, or you need roofing. There's something that you're getting out of it. I'm not buying a service. I'm buying structural stability for my house, or I'm buying, getting my life back in order from this marriage that didn't work out. Getting my life back in order. Now your tie-in is there, not necessarily tie into your service, but it ties into the benefit. It ties into the transformation that's coming into the life of the customer. So now that you're getting your life back in order, in the case of the lawyer, what's the next thing is making sure your real estate, your assets are in order, and making sure your final planning is in order, making sure all of these things that are tied into the change that's coming. I think that's where the best natural tie-in and the most emotional tie-in comes. Not necessarily, well, I'm selling you a service, so what's another service that's related? Let's tie into the feelings that you have as you're going through this process. Or if you're getting roofing, what other things? Let's check your windows out. We were talking about hurricanes, timely topic, and a roofer will have business, through the roof right now. No pun intended.
Right.
But what's a natural tie-in? People are thinking about their whole house. What other things are damaged? What other things need to be repaired? You're thinking about, let me get my house back in pristine condition. Let me get back to my life pre-hurricane. So there are other things that, you're a roofer. Maybe you can partner up with somebody, like you say, the 80% that you can do, the roofing. You can partner up with a window guy. Or you can partner up with, somebody who can get the landscaping back together or whatever, and put together an offer that this is the solution for your post-hurricane solution. Get your home back the way it was the day before, or even better. But, when you think about it in those terms, you're not just selling a thing. You're resetting somebody's life.
Well, and I think that's a great concept for folks to really wrap their heads around, because what you're talking about is no longer selling the widget, not selling the service that you offer, but you're really selling the result that the client or the customer is receiving from the service, and that's what they really want. Nobody wants to hire a roofing company. They want a dry home. Nobody wants to hire a divorce attorney. They want to be legally severed from their spouse, you know,
right.
and they want their, as you pointed out, they want their life back together. And, you know, my wife works for an ophthalmologist, an eye surgeon, and nobody goes to him because they want surgery. They want to be able to see clearly.
Right.
You know? And so beginning to communicate it in those terms, I think, is really important. And a lot of us, it's easy to lose sight of that because for the most part, business owners love what they do.
Yeah.
They're passionate
and rightly
about it.
So.
Yeah, and they should. And that's great because that means you're going to deliver great service, but you can't communicate it to your customers like that because they don't love it like you love it.
Right. That's one point that I almost always have with clients and people who I'm speaking with, even, you know, in a non-client service provider relationship, is like what you're selling isn't, you know, the way you see what you're selling isn't the way that your customer sees it. You know, they see what they're getting out of it. You love your thing, and you should. When you've created a wonderful, you know, you built a wonderful building, and you think structurally this thing is beautiful, architecturally, aesthetically beautiful. You know, but nobody's necessarily thinking about that. They're thinking about this is home. You know, for a construction guy, nobody cares about how your drywall is composed of the greatest material. They just want to know that their house is really strong. It's going to last. It's going to look great for years, and it's going to be a comfortable place for me to live. Or an insulation guy, nobody cares about insulation. They just care about being warm. So, you know, you should love what you do. So if I said that, you know, falling in love with your thing is wrong, I didn't mean that. But your customer and the benefit they get, it needs to be on the forefront of your mind to make sure that you're continuing to innovate as well. Because if you fall in love with your payphone, you'll get lost. If your thing suddenly becomes obsolete, you're out of business. But if you fall in love with your customer, their need to communicate, then you stay on the forefront of fulfilling that need.
I think that's right on, and that really is, excuse me, that's really central to this topic that we talk about every week of marketing. It's not just about what ad am I going to run and what direct mail campaign am I going to put out there, and we talk a lot about that, but really at its core, it's having a deep understanding of who your customer is, what it is that they want, and figuring out how to communicate what you do so that it aligns with what they want and solves that problem that they have. And I always tell my clients to say, you know, this isn't just about selling stuff. This is about people out there in the world that have big problems, and you're the solution to their big problems. And you have I see it anyway, as a moral obligation to communicate with them in whatever means necessary to get the message across that you're the solution to their problem.
That's right. I think that, and I've mentioned it, you know, in one of the recent newsletters. You know, that's exactly right. Let's say, for example, you know, you're in Africa, and there's kids who have no drinking water, and you happen to have a drill. It is your obligation to use your drill, which is your gift, or your thing that you have, your ability, experience. It's your responsibility. If you have the drill a well. There's water right under the ground. There's kids who are dying of thirst. Do something about it. So, you know, that's exactly right. We all have. That's the point I was trying to make. I'm sorry, my brain's just switched back. I think marketing isn't so much about how do I make more money. It's about connecting your talents and your gifts, your abilities, and whatever you bring that's transformative, whatever you bring that's beneficial to people's lives. Connecting what you got with the people who need it. How do you come up with a message, and how do you come up with an offer that allows you to show them that you can actually, you know, help them meet that need they have. They have a strong desire for, you know, whatever it is, and I can actually help you get it. So we talk about marketing, but marketing isn't about primarily making money. Your money is about, or your marketing is about how do you connect yourself with the people who you can help, and then you'll make money doing that.
Yeah, that's the result that flows from delivering value. But you're absolutely right. First things first, you've got to be able to communicate with folks so that they understand that you solve a problem that they have. And once you're able to do that, and it's a skill. Once you get to a point where you can do that, the business opportunities that open for you are, I think, limitless, because you begin to see the world in terms of this problem, solution, and you're able to communicate it with the people who have the problem, and that really changes everything. We got just a couple of minutes left. Any final thoughts that you want to share on creating offers and creating marketing that works?
Yeah, I think that we've covered the big stuff. You need to achieve clarity in your own mind about what value you deliver, and that value needs to be. You need to look at it from the perspective of the person who you're serving. So your offer is going to come directly out of the benefit that you deliver to your target audience. One quick example, I have a buddy who did radio advertising for I think it was a divorce lawyer. But the group specialized, the lawyer group specialized, a law firm, let me say it that way, specialized in working for the husbands. And they crafted all their advertising about what the man's perspective is and what the man's feelings is going through. So their offer, they could have charged whatever they want, because when the men in that area, the local business, when they think about, okay, I'm going through a divorce, you're thinking about the people who have connected with you time and again on an emotional level. So your offer, like I said, it's not just coming up with a cheaper price to get people to come in the store. Your offer is literally giving somebody an opportunity to get that transformation that you can provide for them, to get that benefit that you provide. You get the service that will take them to the next level in their life or their career or their business. So that's really where the offer comes from. So I guess that's kind of generic, and everybody's offer is going to be different. But you think about that in those terms. Don't think I need to come up with the cheapest price in the industry, because that's what you call it. Commodity
hell. Well, and I think that is the fastest way to get on to a path that will ultimately end in you being out of business, because there are
go back to doing it as a hobby.
Yeah, I mean, there will always be somebody who is willing to do it for less.
Yeah,
and if you look at history, that shows itself over and over and over again. Walmart is nothing new. There have been a string of low-cost department-type stores in this country since the 1800s, and they survive for a while until someone else figures out how to do it a little bit cheaper, and then they disappear really quickly.
If the only thing that you have is the cheapest price, you've set yourself up to fail.
Right.
What you need to build your business on is your unique value proposition and your ability to connect with the people that you serve. And if you can get a personal relationship, maybe it just seems personal. Like I said, the divorce lawyers for men. It just felt personal because there was the emotional, wow, that ad just speaks directly to me. There are radio spots. It speaks right to what I'm feeling right now. And they're, bringing in the kids. Where's Daddy? That connected, and these guys, their business is really strong because they're able to do that. So you need to connect with people and provide value and focus on value rather than focusing on your stuff, focusing on low prices. Your competitors can't compete with the emotional connection. There's no way to copy that. When you find out what people really want and help them get it, show them that you can help them get it. It's almost impossible once that's in their mind. It's positioning. Offers are positioning. How do I position this thing, in a way that owns the space in their mind? When I think about phones, I'm thinking about iPhones. When I think about computers, I'm thinking about MacBooks. And when I think about roofing, I'm thinking about Johnson's Roofing Company because, for whatever reason, we've connected on that basis.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. And I want to make sure everybody knows how they can find you, because you put out I think a really intelligent newsletter on email that folks can get. And you've also got a book, Stealth Selling, Non-Pushy Persuasion for Professionals, which is outstanding. And so where can they find you on the web, Donnie?
My website is Donnie, D-O-N-N-I-E, Bryant, like Kobe, Donnie-Bryant.com. So, basic website, I got my blog on there, which I need to spend more time on. And so there's a contact form there if you need to get in touch with me with questions or what have you. If you were interested in the book, it's the webpage is www.stealthsellingbook, all one word, stealthsellingbook.com.
Very good. Very good. Well, hey, thanks for taking out some time out of your day to share with us. I always learn a lot when I do these, and today is no exception. And enjoyed catching up with you. Thanks for being on, Donnie.
I really appreciate it, and and like you said, you've been following me for a while. I've been following you and learning from you for going on 2 years now too. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, sir. Be well. Thank you.
Okay. You too. Have a good day.
You've been listening to the Small Business Marketing Show with Steve Gordon. Are you ready for more? Download Steve's ebook, 7 Deadly Marketing Sins That Will Kill Your Business, at SteveGordonMarketing.com/free gift.